Hello and welcome back to Humans of Van Life. I'm sitting here with my friend Lynn, and we are absolutely scorched. My face is as red as a prune, or I mean a tomato, and we are both sweating.
It would be purple. That would be really bad. Too hot.
That'd be terrible.
But yeah, it's not too bad now with the door open.
Oh, thank God. So I finally got the chance to sit down with Lynn before we are heading out of Basalt and heading to Buena Vista. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad I caught you on this side of the road here.
Me too. This awkward side of the road.
We literally just pulled off down this random
ranch road.
Yes. And now sprinklers are starting.
Oh no.
Okay.
The hot box
This
begins.
is perfect. And the truth is though is this is exactly this is it. No, we're not in a studio in LA, air conditioned. We're in my 84 Westphalia on the side of the street.
A lot of windows. It gets so hot in here. I blocked off all my windows so it doesn't get as hot because it's like a freaking greenhouse.
Okay, well yeah, why don't you tell us about what van you're living in and how long you've been doing it for?
Nice segue. I'm in a 2004 Ford camper van. Well, it's like a wheelchair lift van. Turned it into a camper van. Yeah, I got new tires for it, new brakes. That's about it. That's my baby.
How long have you had it for?
I think almost 2 years. I got it not this recent December, but the last December. So yeah, a year and a half.
And you've been living in it full time since you got it in December.
Yeah. So I started living in a van 3 years ago, and I had a van for 9 months. It rusted out in Texas. I had to throw all my shit into a U-Haul and then drive up to Illinois from Texas, get in a Toyota Yaris from high school. Lived in a Toyota Yaris for 9 months, which was interesting. And then saved up about the van I have now. And yeah, so I've been in that for a year and a half.
A Toyota Yaris.
Yeah, it's like a smart car.
I was gonna say,
it's not a smart car, but yeah, it's like a smart car with a hatchback. But you can lay the seats in the back. So I laid a sleeping bag, a comforter, wicker box with a stove, food, a garbage bag full of clothes, art supplies, and a backpack in the front with my laptop and camera.
And how long did you do that for?
9 months.
That's insane.
It was great. I slept with a blackout curtain over me while I was sleeping in like so that it looked like I was just storage.
Oh my gosh, you would. So what made you get into this whole lifestyle to start off with?
That's a heavy, long question.
Is it?
So...
Well, were you living in a home before you got there?
Yeah, so I was living in a lot of apartments in Columbia, Missouri. I went to school for graphic design. I barely made it through college, emotionally and physically. And yeah, when I was close to being done with my degree, I knew that I didn't want to do the 9-to-5 graphic design job, mainly because I wasn't really into graphic design. I was just trying to get a degree and do the adult real life thing. Towards the end I was just not in a good place, really depressed, not happy with anything, struggling with a bunch of stuff, not inspired by anything, waking up in an apartment in a town, just bartending, working a cafeteria job, doing all the ins and outs and all that stuff. I was I want to do something a little unorthodox and weird when I really liked traveling, and I would live in my Yaris for weeks at a time in college, and I really loved it. I would go festival hopping and stuff, go to one festival, leave all my stuff in my Yaris for the whole week while I was in class, and then hop back in it for the weekend and this and that. So I knew that I could live in a small space while traveling. I decided to save up for a van 6 months after graduating, saved up money, bought the first van, and yeah, just hit the road with a few $1,000 in my bank account and started selling art on the road, and yeah, went from there.
So now you make a full-time income through your art and also side jobs? I remember you said you did a bit of banquet serving and...
Yeah, so I've been selling art, I've been doing art and photography and all this stuff since I was 16, but selling arts and prints and paintings and stuff I started doing when I was 19, when I first, again, started going to music festivals. So I'd go to a music festival with 2 prints of, Wakarusa 2015, and it would be, 2 different types of it, 2 different prints you could choose from. I'd bring 10 of each. That was it. I would make my money back for the ticket, and I was happy. So I was, going to festivals for free. Then I started trying to, make more prints so I could, kind of make money on top of my festival ticket. And then after 2 years, people started asking for like original art that wasn't related to the festival, which I thought was really cool. They were like, I mean, we love the festival print, but where's like your personal stuff? Like, we'd love to see more. So yeah, I was like, okay, I guess I'll start like bringing my portfolio. So I started walking around with a small portfolio and made triple what I was making the other festivals, where I would just bring like 2 prints. And then now I bring like 3 portfolios and stickers and pins and clothes and all of it. And over the last like 9, 6, 7 years, yeah, I've like make a lot compared to that first year. So I realized that after doing that for a while that, yeah, I could make a living while traveling around and selling art.
Which is so epic. Like, I feel like that's like your stereotypical thing that people think you cannot do. Like, it's like, you know, the taboo about being an artist and then just traveling around following your heart. Everybody's like, fuck that.
Yeah.
There's no way you can make a living. There's no way you can survive. And it's so neat to see, like, living proof of that.
Yeah.
And not just living proof, stoked on doing it. Like, you show up as, like, a super empowered artistic woman. And it's, like, rad to see that.
Oh, shucks.
Oh,
Thanks.
come on. And I was curious, have you always been artistic? Like, have you always felt that within you?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Like, since I was a little kid, my mom got us into, like, painting and ceramics, scrapbooking, like, kind of all that, like, minimal artsy things. Went to art camp, and, yeah, I was very supported by my family of my love for illustrating, drawing. I'd always wanted to be, like, a children's book illustrator when I was a kid. And then I wanted to own my own ceramic business and make ceramics for kids, like weird creatures and stuff. And then I started my own knitting business when I was in 5th grade. I started knitting scarves. My mom would buy the yarn. I would knit it for someone and calculated the profit between how much I would make per hour / give my mom back the $5 for the yarn ball at the end. So like every week she would buy the yarn, give me a quote for how much it was, and then I would have to make this amount of sales to like make up for my profit and the cost margin and all that stuff. And then I started selling them to like the principal and the secretary of the school. And so I'd charge them more because they were adults, so the scarves were twice as long, so I had to use twice the amount of yarn. It was great. I had business cards. People were like calling my mom's house being like, is Carolyn around? We want to order a scarf. So yeah, I did that when I was like 11. And then when I turned 16, I started my own photography business. And I did over 160 photo shoots in 2 years. Like
Holy
weddings,
shit.
bands, families, senior photos, for companies, like design work, calendars, all that kind of stuff.
So you're a natural entrepreneur.
Yeah, I love it.
Wow. Did you ever have the doubt that you're not going to be able to pursue your art? Like, does that feeling ever come up for you?
Yeah, I definitely go through like highs and lows of feeling like, yeah, I'm doing kick-ass. I made a lot this month or this year, and like last year I felt really, really good and just saw so much promise in the future. And then the last 6 months, it's the opposite. Like I felt like quitting and just I was like, why am I doing this? And like having false hope in myself. So yeah, I definitely go back and forth. And really, like you were saying earlier about the side jobs, like I picked up some side jobs to alleviate the stress off making money just off art, because it was getting really stressful if I made $20 in a month and the next month I was like, am I gonna make $20 again, or am I gonna make 1,000? Like what? I have no idea. It just depends on what people want. So I picked up banquet serving and gardening, and I really stopped creating for like 2 months and just worked like 2 or 3 other jobs. And that was really good because then I missed creating all over again. I have money that I don't have to now rely on art for the next few months, and I can just get my passion projects in and not care about that. And that helps a lot.
Yeah, I love that. I hear that a lot because I especially hear that with people in this lifestyle, when this lifestyle often frees them up to follow their passions, because they're not strapped 9 to 5 just trying to make it by. You have all this extra time to work on your passion and build these parts of you up.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hearing in you is slightly different, but same thing, right? If you're
Yeah.
solely relying on your passion just to get by, then it doesn't so much feel like a passion. It feels like a chore. And,
Yeah, exactly.
and there's a lot of like tenseness around it. And then your creative like flow kind of is inhibited as well.
Yeah, it can be like kind of crippling. But yeah, that's why I tell a lot of people who I meet on the road who are like aspiring to just do art, specifically like painting, drawing, art kind of art. Even music, I think, goes into it as well, where they're like the kind of, again, what you were saying, where you can't be successful as an artist, blah, blah, blah. and they think success as an artist is only doing art for a living, and nothing else. And if you have a side job, then you're not successful. Like, that's not success. So yeah, I try and tell people that I meet, like, that's not true. That you can make money somewhere else, and that doesn't mean you're not a failure.
This is so interesting because, like, talk about a change of perspective, but not only that, sorry, I'm laughing because do you hear the dogs in the background?
And
that is amazing.
Yelling.
Kids yelling, dogs in the background. We're definitely on a ranch. I'll just take a...
Oh no, they lost their dog.
Oh, great.
Hello, people on
Fucking
this
who let
podcast.
the dogs
Someone
out?
lost their dog. This lady is yelling.
We can always edit all this out.
Keep it in.
Yeah,
Keep it in.
I like
This often happens.
Yeah, that lady looked very angry.
She does. There is like 5 vans parked here.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I want to say is, well, that's a bloody good question, Nikki. Oh, yes. No, I don't know what I was saying. What were we talking about?
The hearing a different perspective about not having to do
Yes.
just art on the road.
Okay.
And with anything, any passion, like balancing that.
Not only that, success. The word success.
yeah.
Is so interesting how that just
Definition.
like very easily flowed out of your mouth as success equals money, pretty much, because that's the way society views it.
Yeah.
And
That's
so I
what you're
love
told.
this aspect that
It's like a fourth dog that just came in.
The best part of all this is I feel like this would happen to your podcast. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
I love it.
yeah, it's awesome.
I
Anywho.
can't be serious for too long, but go on. The success, the way I talk about it, we got this.
Yeah. It's just cool because I'm starting to redefine what success actually means. Whereas I used to view it as a very linear way, such as how much you're producing or how much you're making or what you're achieving. And now I see it very differently. And so it's really beautiful for you to share like that aspect. Like, just because you're not making a full-time wage on your passions doesn't mean that you're not successful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the money is success is a huge lie, we've been told. And then, like, the cliche thing, like, happiness is success, or, like, doing what you love is success. And that, yeah, I fully agree with that. But obviously you do need money to survive.
Yeah.
And, like, it's going to make you happy to eat food and put gas in your van and keep going places. But yeah, it's definitely, I think, in ground, especially with the artist thing. It's you have such pressure to, like, not be a failure in following your passion, and even, like, everything, movies, podcasting, like, all of these passions that we're doing, you are so scared every day of being a failure about it because you're going out on a limb. And I think that fear needs to be taken back, because it's like, if you're taking a step towards doing that passion, fuck yeah. Like, are you kidding me? That's huge. Like, if you want to draw. Like, you don't have to sell it. Just draw. Draw every day. Paint every day. Videotape every day. Play music every day. Don't do it for anyone else but you. And then, like, the success and money will follow if that's what you want to pursue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Don't stress.
Also, in the back of my mind, I cannot help but think about success is my only motherfucking option. Failure's not. That's what I was like playing in my head. I love Eminem.
You're like on like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking.
I'm just gonna like dive right in because I've been wanting to kind of like have a dialogue with you about this and haven't had the chance before.
Okay.
So I know that at the Life Diaries meetup, you led a mental health talk.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it because I was so
You did the breath work.
I did the breath work. Yeah, I did the full
That's all
breath
you
work.
have to say.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I did this breath workshop and was reflecting after that. But I was really curious on what enabled you or what led you to be leading a mental health talk at a van meetup.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, how it like came about originally was talking to Kathleen over a beer. She was talking about wanting me to be a part of the the team and like add something to the gathering, whether it was painting or this or that. And I suggested that there would be a mental health talk because I felt that is something that people need living in their vans, or not living in your van, living in a house, whoever. Everyone needs to have that support system. And I think on social media, you see a lot of people opening that question up and opening, like this discussion about sadness or breakups, loneliness, that. But there's one thing about doing it over the internet and another doing it in person. So, yeah, I asked her if I could lead it, and then my segue into my mental health creature card deck that I was drawing would be like a good way to like introduce it as well. Which is, for those who don't know, it's like it's tarot card style, but they are not tarot cards. It's choose your own card, and each card has a negative and a positive emotion on it. So the top of one would be depression, and there's an illustration of like a slug crawling in a circle. And then the flip side is in color, and it's of growth. So it's the same slug, but the slug has flowers and plants, and it's like growth is... It's not like a one step, like one word to like fix the problem. Like you're not going to fix depression with one thing. It's more so a way when you're in this dark feeling to look at something bright and remember that there is positive and negative, there's light to dark, and this is kind of like the reflection side of it. So there's trauma, and then the opposite of trauma would be release. So like to feel, if you have trauma, that opposite feeling is release. Anxiety. And then the other opposite of anxiety is reflect. So if you're having a lot of anxiety, like personally, I have a lot of anxiety just over nothing. I'll just be driving down the street and I'm like, I need to get there really fast, or like this and that. And I'm like, but I'm going nowhere. I literally have nowhere to go, but I'm like going fast and anxious about it. And so to reflect is to reflect, why am I anxious? Is there a reason? If there isn't, then calm the fuck down. And then if there is, like, reflect on why it's that big. Why is it affecting you in this minute? Is that anxiousness really helping you get to the next step? This and that. So, yeah, it's not like a one step fixes everything, but more so like a brain training exercise to kind of like see that there is like some reflection. So I talked about that, starting the mental health talk. And yeah, I don't know, I think I just feel really connected to, like, I come off, especially like on Instagram and social media, where I have, there's people following me and messaging me saying I'm inspirational, and like, I just seem so happy and doing what I'm doing and following my passion, all this, positive. And I want to make sure people know, like, I am positive because I'm the lightest people have been in the darkest spots. And like, it's still foreign to me to be as happy as I am, because I've literally, out of 26 years of living, I've had like 2 years of complete, like full happiness, and that's from living in a van.
Wow.
And a bunch of other things, but like most of my life I've been depressed, anxious, like eating disorders, trauma, PTSD, so that's all I really knew. And coming out of it and working really, really, really hard every day on mental health has brought me to like where I am, and I still struggle with it, but I think it is a good, like, I love helping people, and I really, a lot of what helped me get out of some things was thinking like I can be a tool for other people who've gone through what I've gone through, and they can we can learn from each other. And if I had a role model, let's say, or just someone I saw who had gone through exactly what I had gone through, or something extremely similar, and then saw where they were in life and they were doing well because they did this and that, I think it would have been, really good to see and, kind of have that support of like, wow, there's hope outside this hole where you literally feel like there's nothing. Like, I'm very, very surprised I made it through age 12, age 18, age 20, age 23, 24. Like, every year was a struggle. So, yeah, very connected to sharing that story and like making sure people know that there is light, even if it's just for a day. It might not be light every day, but it's there.
It's there, yeah. So what is it that living in a van over the last 2 years 3 years, sorry.
First year was still rough.
Yeah. So at least over the last 2 years, what do you think has helped facilitate you in finding this like contentment inside or happiness?
Well, I guess we'd have to like go down to my like personal things that I was dealing with. So like the long list of things.
Yeah.
So I was like really depressed, didn't want to get out of bed. I think the longest stint of literally not physically leaving bed was 12 days. I lost like 30 pounds in 2 years. I wasn't eating, like had no appetite. Had a lot of, body dysmorphia and disassociation. I could feel content but really numb, really didn't feel happy, really didn't feel sad, just cut everything off. I had a lot of trauma with men happen in my life, which led to some PTSD where I was on flight or fight mode all the time, or I was like constantly like moving, fainting, heaving, throwing up, gagging, just like my body was just constantly reacting as if something was attacking me. Like literally every morning, every night, my body was just like on the fritz. So yeah, I was just like, I can't be doing everything what I'm doing right now. I've been doing this. I'm in the same town where all these things have happened to me, and I'm around these people, and I just need to go. I need to be by myself. I need to do what I love, what makes me happy, which I think is really one good step to do when you're extremely depressed and don't want to get out of bed. Find what makes you happy. Music. Turn on some damn music. What makes you happy? Writing. Then fucking write. What makes you happy? Dancing. Do a dance party. Like, and if you don't want to get out of bed, dance in your bed. Like, you can move. And so traveling and seeing new places and hiking and like changing scenery is what has always made me happy. So yeah, I was like, and art, of course. So when I started living in the van originally, it took a few weeks before I already felt like I was doing more physical activity, which helps endorphins. I was outside hiking, I was swimming, I was rafting, meeting new people, painting, seeing new places, feeling inspired. My family was really concerned about like my physical health, above like my eating. So since I was losing so much weight and was really underweight, they were nervous that I, like, oh, on the road it's going to be harder to eat, and like, is this going to be bad, blah, blah, blah. And it actually, like, it was the best thing I could have done. I started cooking and eating when I wanted to eat. My appetite came back. I got really creative with food. I was snacking all the time because I was doing these physical activities. And in turn, I gained, like, 15 pounds in, like, a year, which is insane. Like, never thought that would ever happen. I ate a lot more healthier when I was living in the van and surprised myself and just kept rolling with it. Didn't question it. It was like, okay, this is working for me. And when I was asked, like, how long is your trip? How long are you going to be doing this for, etc.? Have you found where you're going to live yet? And every time I was just like, I have no idea. I'm just doing this until I don't want to do it. It's working for me right now, making me happy. And that was my goal. So why stop? Until I don't feel good and want to try something new.
Yeah, it's so amazing. As you were talking, I was thinking that actually thinking about a lot of things, so I want to share this with you so I don't forget. I worked on pediatrics as a nurse, and I can't help but think how helpful your cards would be there.
Yeah. Aww.
Which maybe we could do something cool. Like, I would like genuinely, it'd be rad if we could like print a lot of those. And I would be super happy to like distribute them and get somebody to buy them, because I feel like just like as a nurse trying to like, we have to do assessments each day, but like, okay, pick a card that resonates with you, and let's talk there.
Exactly.
Starting there, opposed to being like this big abstract thing. How are you feeling today?
Yeah.
So I wanted to share that, and also I wanted to share, it's so cool to see how this lifestyle has supported you in thriving. And what it makes me think of is, realistically, like, I'm gonna go ahead and say this: who the fuck doesn't feel trapped and shitty in the city with all those obligations and the pressure and the expectation? Totally. And like, whether people are hearing this and they're getting defensive because either they know it themselves but they're too afraid to admit it, or try something new, or they just don't know it yet, I would probably say, in my experience, that's true. Like, there's so many mental health disorders that stem from that pressure, the social constructs that we're supposed to live out and all this. And so it's so neat to like have a conversation with you and to see the difference. Yeah. Like, you did that, and that's where you were, and now you're doing this, and this is where you are. Yeah. Like, your family must be so proud of you, and like, it must be so nice to see you thriving.
Yeah, that's another thing, is people ask about like parents' opinions, which I think is really... It's amazing how much that can affect, like, what you're doing. And yeah, my dad was really supportive. He was like, fuck yeah, like, go out, do something crazy. I support you. If something really, really bad happens, like, I'm here, to support you. But, like, you just need to try it. Like, you're in your 20s. Like, why not? My mom was terrified. She called me every single day to see where I was camping. I remember driving from Missouri through Kansas, and I was just going to stop at some random campsite along the way. I really had no idea. And she called me to ask, where are you staying tonight? Give me the GPS location. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to be able to tell you every single night where I'm staying. It's going to be different every night. It might be the same. I have no clue. That is the point why I'm doing this, is to not know, have zero structure, and it just feels so good. And so for like 2 months, she called me every single day, and I had to tell her where I was, which is just a mom caring. Which is great. But yeah, after a few months, she realized, like, okay, she knows what she's doing. I'm smart. I can travel, by myself and be safe. And kind of all those original fears of your mom being worried about a single female traveling kind of went away a little bit. She's still a little nervous, but...
And has that actually been the case, though? So that was 2 months in, but like now 2 or 3 years, really. How has your experience been as a woman on the road?
Yeah. So the first year was good. All these have been good, but I've definitely built up stories over the last 3 years, little here and there's. There's a few things that I've done that were definitely, like, if anything happened to me, it was my fault. Like, for example, meeting someone through Instagram and messaging them, like, 5 times, got their phone number, met them in the middle of the desert in Nevada with no cell service for 3 days. And I texted 2 of my friends saying, hey, so I'm going to this campsite in the desert. If I don't call you on Monday, you should probably tell someone to come find me in the desert. It was kind of my, like, laughing thing, but it was legit. Like, I really don't know who this person is, but seems cool, he's kind of cute, like, meet him in the desert, whatever. Ended up being okay, but yeah, like, that could have been really bad. And then honestly, in the last year, since, like, I don't know, San Diego, California is one of my favorite places to go, but that is where I get a lot of negative, weird male attention. And it's normally older men, no offense to older men, but, like, men in their, like, late 60s hitting on me, like, extremely to where, like, I feel uncomfortable and I have to leave the area. That happened, like, 3 times in San Diego in, like, 2 weeks.
Wow.
Where I just had these men, like, trying to get in my van to talk to me and, like, invading my personal space, walking past my van multiple times while I was making food. And I would just keep saying, like, I'm sorry, I'm busy, I'm doing this, or, like, I'm going to the post office, whatever. And they would just keep coming back, trying to talk to me, talking about weird things. One of them messaged me on Instagram, a really, really long, really creepy message, telling me to break up with my boyfriend and to, like, run away with him. And some other things, and, like, when he hugged me goodbye, we talked for, like, 20 minutes, he hugged me goodbye and was, like, crying that I was leaving, and then messaged me the same day that I left, saying, like, it's been days since you've been gone, and, like, I'm still thinking about you, and, like, please, like, come away with me. I was like, you know where I live, what my van looks like, and that I'm by myself, so, yeah, I ended up blocking him on the gram. And yeah, and then there's just, like, parking lots, gas stations. I just have a lot of older men coming up and kind of, like, learning too much about me too quickly. And I'm really bad at lying and just saying, oh, my boyfriend's in the van. If I'm by myself, I'm like, I'm by myself, and this is my home, and this is what it looks like. I'm parking here for the night. Like, it's really stupid. So I can definitely, like, have my moments where I look back, I'm like, oh my god, I probably could have been murdered. But I've been lucky, and they're all just harmless old men, I think, who are just lonely, and that's okay, but it's still creepy.
Do you think women should be scared to do this lifestyle alone?
I don't think so. There's definitely, like, things you probably do differently than guys on the road that are by themselves. Like, I don't go to gas stations at night. If I drive through a small town, I feel out the vibes. If I judge it by who's walking around and the houses and what, things look like, and if it feels wrong, I don't stop. I just go to the next one. If I'm at a campsite or, like, Walmart parking lot, I make sure that if I'm getting out of my van, I see who's looking at me getting back in my van. So, like, I'm always aware of, is this older man over here, is this weird person over there watching just me get in and out of my van if I'm staying there for the night. So they're all very subconscious things, but I have learned to, like, I'm always looking at that kind of stuff. Even at a campsite, like, I notice everyone around me, if it's a group of people, if they're my age, what they look like, what they what
Right,
you know,
just
everything.
assessing.
Yeah, just assessing everything, and yeah, if it feels wrong, I will move, or I just won't get out of my van so that they don't know who's in there.
So do you find that's quite like a female experience, or do you think that men have to have the same concerns as us?
I mean, I can't speak for men, so they might have it, but I highly doubt it. I think, like, when I've talked to my boyfriend about even things that I do, like walking down the street, where, like, I have just been conditioned to look over my shoulder every few seconds to make sure someone's not following me. I'll literally do that any town or city I go in. If I hear footsteps, I look behind my shoulder and see who's following me to make sure it's not someone who's, like, chasing or going to attack me. And I highly doubt that men are walking around looking over their shoulders to see if some man or woman is chasing them with a knife. Like,
And so where do you think that comes from? Like, is that a little bit from your past? Or is that in general, like, women as a society marinated in this?
I think, well, I've never been, like, mugged or anything on the street, so I think it's, like, mainly, I guess I've been, like, catcalled and, you know, followed slightly, never, like, anything, like, physically attacked on the sidewalk or anything. So I think more of a woman thing.
Yeah.
No, I feel like this is like a history class.
Yeah, no, I know.
Is it B or C?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it can be like from personal experience, but I, like most women I talk to, we all could normally have that same feeling. I don't know if it's the same for you. Or like if you grew up in a big city.
Yeah.
I grew up in kind of like the suburbs of a really big city in Illinois, and then outside St. Louis, and then in kind of a big town, I like to call it. And then, yeah, just spend a lot of time in, like, California cities and stuff, and I'm just very aware of things that can happen.
Yeah. No, I think that where you grew up has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up on a tiny hippie island.
Yeah.
Like...
So you feel comfortable, and you're, yeah.
Which is, like, it has its pros and cons, though, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, perhaps I'm more naive than others, or... Anywho, yeah, it's a bit of a tricky discussion to have, because I find that, like... We're cautious of what we say. This has been my experience with women. Like, we're cautious, and also men are cautious of what they say, but, like, the actual truth is, in my experience, and every woman I've talked to, we do have this, like, kind of embedded fear. And, that fucking sucks.
Yeah, it does.
It sucks.
Yeah.
But you're still here.
Yeah.
Having a great time.
Yeah, I think, like, a lot of, like, how you're saying, like, wasn't my experience. Like, a lot of my, like, traumas that I've talked about and stuff, those have been more, like, sadly, like, you know, like, sexual assaults and rapes and these things that are by, like, people you know or people close to you, which is way more common. It's, like, way more common you're going to be hurt by someone you know and someone close to you, family, friends, than a stranger on the street. So that's why I don't know if those are connected. But yeah, definitely that, like, fight or flight, like, I'm very cautious of any situation. And, like, I think that's why I get anxious in, like, crowds or at parties and, like, where I'm sleeping and who I'm around. And that's definitely from personal trauma and experience. But I think the street thing is, yeah, it's kind of like an embedded thing or, like, talked about thing. Like, I know in, where I went to school, we had the statistic, what was it? It was like 2 in every 5 or 3 in every 5 women in the college town that I went at had been sexually assaulted on the sidewalk. Like, boob grabbed, vagina grabbed, like, something. And so I remember, like, in that town, I remember, like, we would always walk in groups, like, that whole thing. You would walk in groups. If it was, like, 2 a.m. or something, like, you would find streets that had lights and, like, all of this stuff we're constantly thinking about. And that was pretty specific to that town, only because, like, that... And that, again, it's just a statistic, and honestly, it's probably 5 out of 5, like, or 4.8 out of 5, like, so much higher because people don't report things.
That's right.
But yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned the word community and groups and feeling safe and stuff, and I'm wondering what your experience has been with the van life community. What's it been like for you? And I know that, like, you are quite a predominant member. That's how I view you.
Social butterfly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if maybe you could just speak a little bit about the community that you've experienced here. And
I think it's cool because, like, so when I started living in a van, there was, like, 2 people who I followed on Instagram that were, like, living the van life.
Who was that?
It might have been Van Life Diaries.
Yeah.
And then, I don't remember his screen name, but some girl, I don't know, who had, like, products and stuff that she would, like, get sponsored by. So it was, like, the first time I saw sponsored things. actually, funny story if we're going to get real about that.
Yeah.
Girl who dated my now boyfriend.
Oh,
Yeah,
her.
yeah. So I was following her.
Right.
Yeah, I was following her and saw like the whole sponsorship thing because I'd never seen that before. So when I started living in the van, I was like, oh, cool. Like you can like live off of like being paid by companies, blah blah blah. So it's kind of like that was like the first time I had been open to that before living in the van. But ideas of like how vans are built and like how all these like look at van tours and stuff like that didn't exist. Like when I googled van, like living in a van, it was like some like trash bags and like really not good, just like not, yeah, it wasn't anything as creative as it is now. Mm-hmm. So I just had a plastic dresser, a bed in the back. It was great. I loved it. I had like the storage use, made use of it, and was like, cool, there's not that many people doing this, but I want to do it. Why not did it? And yeah, I like met people. Well, the people I met on the road weren't living in vans. They were just people in the area. People like, living in that town, and I met them, or maybe they went on like a weekend trip or something and I met them. And then I went to my first van gathering, RTR, in Quartzsite, Arizona.
Everybody's been to RTR.
I know. So I went before everyone now from these van life gatherings just like went this last year. And when I went, there was this one guy named Brandon who I met through Instagram.
Like Brandon?
No,
okay.
Different Brandon.
Yeah.
So I met him through Instagram. He's like, I think he's in his 40s. He's a psychic, so he would like do psychic consultations on the phone. So we're in the desert of Arizona, and he's doing like psychic consultations on the phone. And then everyone else was in their 50s, 60s, and they're all like retired, living in RVs. And so it was me and all these people above the age of 40, 50. And yeah, I keep in touch with all of them on Facebook. It was great. I stayed there for 2 weeks and went to all the local bars, sang karaoke with everyone, and like they thought I was probably like 10 years old, because literally everyone was like 60 to 70 years old. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I stayed at the actual RTR for like 2 days and was like, this isn't for me. Like I didn't connect with anyone, and it was cool and everything, but definitely just I felt a little out there. So, yeah, I think then after that, so that was in January of 2017, so like 4 months into living on the road. And then, I just kept traveling and stuff, and still, like, I do remember meeting, it was like here and there. I met a couple named Emily and Jason in the desert for my birthday. They lived in their van. I met two brothers who lived in a van, and they let me paint the top of the van. And they are now biking across country on like pedal bikes from, they left Huntington Beach and are biking to New York. Yeah, and they stopped and saw me in Carbondale last week, or like 2 weeks ago. It was really great. But so I met them 2 years ago, painted their van, and then the Van Kooks, Danny and Kevin, I met them also, like all through social media. So there was like this community, but it was only one or two people at a time. I was never hanging out in like groups of people in vans until the Colorado Van Life Gathering 2 years ago. Yeah, not last year, but the year before. And that's where I met Jared, Ash, Sam, Kevin, everybody Jim, who did the documentary. And so like I started, getting more involved in that group of people. And over the last 2 years, I've been a lot more into it. And and then this last month, since the Tetons, has been like the most I've ever had of constant people in vans. I definitely have normally been like on my own or maybe around one other person.
So how does that feel to be like super integrated into the community?
It's great. I love it.
Like,
it's pretty amazing how, and I think we've all talked about this, how easily we all connect. And it might not just be like, just because we live in vans, like, okay, is that really a big connection piece? But that spurts off in so many reasons. Like, why are you living in it? Oh, wow, we're living in the van for the same reason. Oh, we also have these same hobbies. Oh, we all do this activity. And, like, each person has a few of these, like, important traits, not just like top level traits or surface level traits with the like small talk and stuff, like, oh, is it gonna rain today?
What are you doing next weekend?
Yeah,
every day is the weekend, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like we've got the same schedule, we've got the same idea and ideas about life and I think love and success and troubled sadness. We can talk about that openly. Like I've never talked so deeply about stuff like I have in the last like 20 minutes than I have even with some of my closest friends I've known for like 10 years. I think it's that trust that we all, have like had a rough path to bring us to where we are. Even if you haven't had a rough past, there's something that's made you fueled to do something like this. So it puts you in a common area.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think I get a lot of outsider questions about, like, what is this? Like, you know, like what is this? And this is where this whole, like, well, one of the reasons why this whole podcast came to fruition, like, what is this essence, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that you're nailing it, where it's we have these core beliefs that relate.
Yeah.
And when it boils down to anything, it's the core beliefs that matter.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, love and success and being out of your comfort zone, and it's just so neat because I feel like everybody who lives in a van has an epic story. That's what I've come to know. And so that epic story has helped you grow into the person you are and the person you're meeting and showing up as.
Yeah.
And that's where we meet.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so rad. And I think that's like, you just summed it up perfectly.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
And we all have definitely peed in jugs before, so.
Totally.
And pooped in a hole.
Yeah.
It's a good common threshold. Like, oh wow, where's your pee jug? Like, don't look under there.
So it just like breaks the ice like that.
Yeah.
Instead of like, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Fucking who cares?
Yeah, it's like, where do you pee? Like, I want to see your bathroom. Like, that's an
Yeah.
exciting question. When you walk in someone's house, it's like, where's your bathroom so I can pee? In a van, you're like looking around for the pee jug or the little weird compost toilet and seeing how people shower and all the different creative ideas. And yeah, just I like the rawness that you get with this lifestyle. And I'm a very raw person and talk about pooping and peeing and all of the dirty things all the time. So that's my favorite, is people on social media, that's what they all want to know. Where do you go to the bathroom? I'm like, I don't think I've ever been asked so much in my life where I go to the bathroom. Like, I never got asked in high school, so Lynn, where do you go to the bathroom? Like,
totally, yeah.
In the toilet? I don't know. Like, why are you asking me? Is it that interesting? So I think it's so funny that's such a common thing, that people want to know where I'm taking a shit.
Wow. So if you look back, if we go back 3 years, and we meet you 3 years ago.
Time travel machine.
Yes.
Spaceship.
What kind of things do you think you would tell yourself back then?
What would I now tell myself then?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, one, I probably wouldn't listen because I was like, didn't believe anything.
Right.
Like no matter what was said to me, it had that like black screen over my eyes. But yeah, I think it would be, I was in like a really heavy cycle of like, why keep living? Because even if there's good things, there's still going to be bad. And how much more bad can I handle? And is it really worth it? And so, yeah, I just kind of felt like life wasn't, worth living, that classic feeling. So I think, I would say, like, or also that I was, like, feeling content, and I couldn't feel anything other than content. And I think I would tell myself now that, like, happiness is achievable, and that it's real and raw, and that tell myself that I'm going to start crying all the time in a good way, and laughing, and being angry, and I will feel all the emotions I thought I would never feel again. Because that was really big. I definitely just really never believed that I would ever have that. Like, I had passions, but they were gray, you know? Like, they weren't, I was just blinded by, you know, all of that. So, yeah, I think I would tell myself that, yeah, good for you. You hacked into that feeling thing in your body. I got it, hacked into it. And sometimes it's really intense. But that's good, because, I'll take that any day over being numb.
And what would you tell people who are considering this lifestyle, and maybe have listened to you in this whole journey, or somebody else, and they're still a bit too scared to do it?
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
I would say, and I do say to people who ask me this quite often, is try doing it for a weekend. Like, you don't have to just jump in it and go like I did, or some people do. You can, buy a van, take some time, outfit it out, take it on a 3-day weekend, then maybe take it on a week trip, and then a 2-week trip, because that's kind of what I did. I was driving my Yaris for like 2 weeks at a time, weekends at a time. We did camping trips as a kid all the time, so like I was really conditioned to living in a small space. I had already known that, and I felt really comfortable with moving around. So if you feel scared about like moving around and not having stability and living in a small space, all these things, just take it slow. Like, just a weekend here and there, and if you feel on top of the world and it's amazing, then dive in, you know, and if or not, just fucking dive in, because that's another way to do it, and I fully support that. But yeah, I think like we take things and we're like, again, like I have to do it 100%, and if I don't, I'm failing, and that's not true. You can dip your toe in and then your foot and then jump in. Yeah.
Dive head first.
Yeah. I mean, you can go head first too, but for the people who are really scared, sometimes I don't like diving.
Totally. That was beautiful. It was so well said. You're such a gentle being, you.
Oh my gosh.
It'd be so interesting, like, because I'm meeting you in your glory, right? Like, I'm meeting you here. I'm meeting you right here.
Yeah.
And it must be...
you meeting me 3 years ago was a different person. Like, just very, very different. I tell that to Connor all the time, my boyfriend, because he met me when I was, like, after a year of just really feeling myself and being single and working on myself, and I've 180 in that, you know, 2 years after school, but, like, 1 year of living on the road, and he honestly, like, it's hard for him to comprehend, because he's like, you're just so happy, and, light and giggly, and... Yeah, silly. And then he sees photos of me gothic and punk and...
Oh, yeah, you were, yeah.
Black lipstick, full white face makeup, eyeliner, parachute pants, a whole shebang. I've got some old MySpace photos to prove it.
Oh my gosh, I bet you do.
But, so, and then my little dark poetry, which I still write, but, definitely I've got some evidence of the times.
Which stimulates a lot of emotion in me as I sit here. I just feel this... such tenderness and sort of hope that like things really do change for people, and it does get better. And there's so many people suffering. There's so many people suffering.
That, and I think like things do get better. Like again, that's something I wouldn't have wanted to hear.
Yeah,
it's so hard because like when you're in a really, really dark place, people on the other side saying it's gonna get better, like da da da, it's like fuck you. Like no, it's not. And that's, like, the worst thing, you know? If anything, it digs you deeper because you're like, they're there, but I'm never going to get there, or I don't believe them. You beat yourself up. You just don't believe it, and it's a cycle. It's a hole. There's no bottom. You just keep going. And so, it's really hard. That's why I think, like, with my mental health creature cards is, like, I'm not trying to cure anyone or tell anyone, like, everything's going to be great. The thing is that, like, each demon you have, and this is actually what I was talking about at the mental health talk, was think of your demons like anxiety, depression, trauma, self-hate, jealousy, all of these things that all of us have as a pet, as like this little demon creature pet that's sitting on you or sitting next to you, and so that it's something that you feed, and you can either feed it negative or you can feed it positive. And when you feed your depression with more negativity and spirals, it's going to get bigger and it's going to get heavier and it's going to engulf you, but it's still something else. It's not you. It's something that is next to you or just holding on to you. Because I think a lot of people like want to label themselves, well, I'm depressed. That means I am my depression or I am my anxiety. I can't go out because I'm anxious and I am that. But I see it more as, you have that little anxiety bat flapping around your head, and you can knock it the fuck down. It's possible, but it's always going to be there. Like, I'll probably always have depression, but at least I can feed the slug and make it a happy slug, and a cute little green slug, and not a black, gooey, dark, scary one.
So you would recommend then trying to feed those guys happiness? Like, but is that, I'm just curious, is saying, like, I know what you mean about saying it's going to get better, like, it's like, oh, fuck, here we go again, another way. But, like, so what other ways can you feed them happiness then?
So, like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, again, like, with my cards is that, like, one-word association, like, breaking it down really simple. Because, again, when you're on all these dark things, everything's really overwhelming. You've got, like, all these things that you have to do to get better, medication and exercising and yoga and journaling and all this shit people are telling you to do. But I think breaking it down to, like, that one word, like, depression, growth. Well, do you want to grow? Do you want to get out of this hole? You have this other green little slug with little flowers on it rather than this, and it's so much better if you can see what I'm talking about. Talking about it does not help as much, like, as the visual, but like, it is kind of going along the lines of, yes, there's a better side, but it's keeping that idea that, like, there's still the slug.
That's right.
Everything's going to be perfect.
No.
Nothing will ever be perfect. all cherries and butterflies and lollipops. Like, you're still gonna have the slug, you're still gonna have the anxiety monster, you're still gonna have trauma, you're gonna have that repressed little girl or boy in you, but at least you can make that creature or demon livable and like live with you in peace and learn from it and grow from it. And another thing that I mentioned in my talk was something that helped me a lot was repeating the phrase, become the strongest person you know. So like, and which was inspired by my sister telling me, like, I was living with her through a lot of really hard stuff, and she told me, like, you are seriously the strongest person I know. You have gone through hell and back, and the things that you have been through, but you just bounce right, but like, it seems like you bounce right back, and like, I get back into it, I keep going to school, I keep doing things, and she just told me that, and it was really inspiring. And so whenever I was in my darkest spots and just didn't want to, keep going, I would just tell myself, be the strongest person you know, because then in the future I can help others. Beautiful. Yeah, so I think that's a good mantra for anybody to have, like, be the strongest person you know. You don't have to be like someone else could be stronger than you, but at least you know that you're being the strongest you can. And then it makes you pretty badass.
Yeah, it sure as hell does.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me before we wrap up here?
Oh man, well, this will be another hour podcast.
No, I'm just curious if there's anything else.
Well, I want to know, like, why you started living in a van.
Oh dear, why did I ask this? Oh yes. Long story short, I drove down the Oregon coast, Oregon and Washington coast, with my friend who had the exact same van as mine, but a year younger. So in 82 Westphalia. And the only 10 days, the community I experienced through that blew me out of the fucking water. And again, like most people have heard me say, I'm from a tiny small island.
Yeah.
So for me to feel that takes a lot.
Yeah.
And it was just like from the Van Alert app or something, and we'd stay at people's houses in their driveway.
Yeah.
And the compassion, the kindness, the patience, the things that they would teach me and offer me were just way too big to ignore.
Yeah.
So as we were driving home, I would sit in the passenger seat and I would look behind me. So I'd be looking at this, like my back, and I would manifest. Like I would picture my exact van. I would look back and imagine what it would feel like to sit in there and lie in there and all the places I could go. And shit you not, sure enough, ended up with the exact same colors. The year newer, does that make sense? Yeah, newer. And here I am 3 years later, coming up in August.
Yeah. Damn.
So yeah, that's why. And it's just like, I'm still to this day baffled by the community and still experiencing like more. Like just when I feel as if my heart can't get any fuller.
It does.
It's
a little overwhelming. Clarissa and I were saying how I was asking, she lives in like a fog the other day, and she goes, I think I'm just trying to process the last month, because it's been a lot in a really good way, but it's just so much has happened and going on, and conversations and crying and laughing and dancing, and it's overwhelming. Like, you can't complain. It's amazing, but it definitely takes you a second to be like, oh my gosh, like, can this keep going? Yeah, it can.
Yeah,
like,
it can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just keep doing it.
And that's actually another good thing, like, I'm just going to say to finish this off here is, even when things are going good, for me, I continue to feed the positivity. Like, you don't just stop there. It's like, okay, like, it's allowing myself to actually be able to feel all this love. Like, sometimes there's parts of me where I'm like, oh, I don't deserve this, or this is too good to be true. But it's like, fuck no, like, I'm out here, and, like, we all deserve this. And, like, just keep feeding that and taking it one step at a time, because it, like, fucking feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, it feels good.
Fuck, it feels good.
The end.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Love you, sister.
I love you too. You can, like, chill down here.
Who's calling?
Who
is that? Calling my phone, babe.
Is this the most interrupted podcast you've had?
Something at Gmail. Someone would like to FaceTime. What is going on with your podcast?
What is happening?
Oh, it's my dad. Hi, Dad.
Oh my god.
There you are.
Hi, Daddy.
Hi.
I'm right in the middle of doing a podcast, Dad.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah, a podcast yesterday, and there was just so much talking on it that I got bored instantly. And I should see a little bit more or something. It was just, I could just hear your voice and his voice. And
yeah.
that's boring, man. You want to hear, you want to see something too. You want to,
YouTube.
something other than just, 14,000 feet and stuff, and it's just voices. It was from yesterday,
Yeah.
so I'm not trying to be negative or anything.
Yeah.
But it's got to be something more to me than just voices.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Dad, have you ever listened to a podcast
that's right.
before?
That's okay. I think I've got
That's what a podcast is.
Yes, that's what I understand.
But anyway,
I don't get it. But,
yeah, that's fine. You're a dinosaur, Dad. Of course you don't get it.
I know, yeah, I'm a dinosaur.
But anyway, Dad, thanks for your input. And just so you know, I've started recording them, so they're going on YouTube, so you can watch the video as well.
Oh, well, that's what would be interesting.